Nothing about it stands out at first. Same streets, same houses, same quiet nights. But every place has a history, and some histories don't stay in the past. Sometimes they settle in, they wait, and every now and then they remind you they're still here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Common Anomaly Podcast. You're listening to Season 3, Episode 7. I'm your host, Stuart James. Joining me today is Clayton James. How's it going, brother?
It's going good. I've had a busy week, though.
Yeah, work has just been increasingly nuts for me. I don't know if you're finding that too, but this whole start to 2026 has just been crazy intense.
Oh,
And I'm done with it. I'm tired. I'm tired all the freaking time.
work is going fine. I was talking about managing the band.
Oh, your band. Yeah, you're working really hard on that all week. And you made it. You got the full album done. Sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I hope other people like it too. I really like it.
Yeah, everybody definitely should go and check that out. There's definitely a couple banger tracks on there. That last one, the finale you sent me, really liked that one. That was fun.
There's not a couple of
I
banger
did not know
tracks
you
on there.
could-
Every single track is a banger track.
Yeah, sure, every single one.
Yeah,
Believe you.
every last one.
But I did not realize you could shred the guitar like that. If you want to hear Clayton just do a crazy guitar solo, it sounds really amazing. It's
I
good.
mean, there was a lot of post.
But a lot of
repeat that.
fun. I'm glad we're doing this today. A good old-fashioned ghost story. This will be fun. A nice palate cleanser, if you ask me. Our last couple episodes have just felt a little too real. They've been a little heavy, a little real, and
World-ending implications.
Exactly. This is going to be a little more fun. We can just have fun with a good old ghost story. You brought this up to me, and when you mentioned it, I'd never heard of it before. So it was really fun to discover this story that we're getting into today of the Black Hope Cemetery Curse. Do you want to lead us in? This is about a cemetery that was overgrown. It was part of a town that was actually never really officially town in Texas, just near Crosby.
Yeah, so the land was formerly known as the Black Hope Freedom Colony. Basically, just this tiny little town of former slaves that had been freed after the Civil War.
Yeah, after the Civil War ended, there was obviously a lot of newly freed slaves, and they formed these little villages together.
Yeah, they were called freedom colonies.
Yeah, because they were very much still disenfranchised. So these little towns, a lot of them weren't officially legally recognized as towns, but they became havens for all these former slaves to congregate together and get a start at life again.
Yeah, so this town of Black Hope, the land was originally owned by this farmer. His name was Mercer McKinney. He was a slave owner. He actually died in 1862 fighting in the Civil War.
Okay.
He died fighting Union soldiers. After the war, his remaining family donated the land that had been his farm to his former slaves, and this sort of grew into this colony of Black Hope.
Not a very big colony, not a very big town, but they had a church, they had a market, all the normal town things, a schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And I guess at some point in the 1930s and maybe the late 1930s, the town disappeared.
It's
said that it's burnt down.
Yeah, 1939, according to what few records are out there on this place. In 1939, the town burned down.
Yeah. And though I tried to dig that up because I was curious about that point, that detail of the fire that burnt this town down. And apparently there's absolutely no record of that. It's basically just oral history from the inhabitants of the area, from Crosby, and I believe Houston is pretty nearby as well. But I guess a lot of these towns, obviously, as people integrated into the world, they moved, and a lot of these towns ended up just disappearing. And so it burned down, or people just left, whatever. But basically the land was reclaimed fast forward to the 1970s, early 1980s, and developers in Crosby are expanding and building a new subdivision in the area.
Yeah, because this is just outside of Houston, and Houston was in the middle of a big population boom in the late 70s and early 80s. So there was a lot of sprawl happening.
Yeah.
This new subdivision gets built in Crosby. It's called Newport. In the early 80s, this family moves in there. Sam Haney and Judith Haney. They buy a house there. It's an address on Poppets Court. It's like a little cul-de-sac in there. They're living there for a little bit. It's kind of their dream home.
Yep. They decide they want to build a pool.
Yeah, Sam Haney, he decides he wants to build a pool in his backyard, so he starts digging. And he gets a knock on the door one day, and it's this elderly fellow, like a longtime resident of the area. His name is L.D. Wrestler. He's warning Sam Haney, you shouldn't go digging in your backyard.
Yeah, he can see the backhoe in his yard. He's like, you're not planning on putting a pool in, are you?
Yeah, you shouldn't dig there because there's actually bodies buried in your backyard. Like, your house was built on a former cemetery.
Yeah. And of course, Sam is like, say what now? Bodies? What are you talking about? So he has to investigate.
Yeah, they get the backhoe and they start digging where this elderly man had pointed them to. And they start discovering like fragments of pine boards.
Yeah.
So they park the backhoe and they start digging by hand. They unearth two very old, very badly crushed by the weight of the earth pine board coffins.
Yeah.
Two skeletons inside, each wearing a wedding ring.
So they immediately contact the authorities. They call the sheriff because they have to do an official exhumation.
Mm-hmm.
Get the coroner involved, identify the bodies. It turns out the buried couple was the Thomases. It was Charlie and Betty Thomas.
Interesting story about Betty and Charlie. Again, records are kind of spotty,
Yeah.
But what's told about them is after Mercer McKinney died, the original owner of the land, his family donated this land to the former slaves. It was Betty and Charlie Thomas who had helped raise the McKinney children, who were now without a father.
Right. Oh. So naturally, Sam and Judith, they're quite distraught at this whole thing. They had no idea that there was bodies in their backyard, that their property was built basically right on top of a former cemetery. And they feel awful that they've now desecrated these graves. They've disturbed these people's rest.
Mm-hmm.
So after the investigation is done and the coroner and the sheriff's office are done identifying, they decide we want to correct this. We really want to put the bodies back to rest in the resting place. They reburied them back in their yard.
According to some stories. According to some stories, the Haneys...
Are you saying Unsolved Mysteries got this wrong?
Yeah, because Unsolved Mysteries covered this, and according to their little narrative, the Haneys felt so bad they reburied the Thomases in their backyard, put a little flower bed on top of them, everything. The actual court records, because a lawsuit came out of this, those say that the bodies were removed and reburied at a different cemetery at the expense of the developer.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's not at all the way the recreation portrayed it. I was excited because I didn't know this story, but I have to admit, anytime you send me something and I'm like, oh, there's an Unsolved Mysteries episode about it, I'm in. Because I get to watch old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries.
Well, on this
but
one,
obviously they take some liberties.
You led me astray, Robert Stack.
Totally. Got a lot to answer for. No, they made it seem like they reburied them right back in the same place on their property. Because how does the whole shoe thing happen? Anyway, I'm getting ahead.
They may have, I don't know, they may have made like a little memorial or something.
Right.
But the court records show that the bodies themselves were moved at the expense of the developer. They went by a different name back then, but they're now called Purcell Company.
Okay, interesting. Good investigative journalism there, Clayton.
Thank you. I do my best.
But anyway, the Thomases are reburied.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam and Judith try to move on with life, try to put this episode behind them. It was disturbing, it was unsettling, but they want to move on with life. And they feel like they've put things right with the Thomases. But then they start noticing all kinds of strange activity starting to happen within their home.
I guess the first thing that happened was Judith, she wakes up in the middle of the night. She can see this kind of blue glow coming from the other side of the room. She's got like a little clock set up on a table on the other side of the room, and she looks up, and the clock is glowing blue, and there's like sparks coming out of it.
Yeah, it's like hissing and sparking.
Yeah.
So she gets up to go investigate and discovered it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
Cue the X-Files music. I wish we had a soundboard to play things like that.
I'm working on it. But yeah, that was the first incident, and then it just continued and escalated. The next night or a couple nights later, her husband is working the night shift. He's not at home. She's just getting ready to go to bed. She's alone in the house, and she hears the door open, like the sliding glass door in the back open. Mm-hmm. She hears like just a voice calling out to her. And she figures her husband came back, like he'd forgotten something and needed to grab something. She goes downstairs. The door is closed and locked, and there's no one in the house. The following morning, she gets up and she's looking for her shoes. She's got this pair of red shoes she really likes.
Yeah.
And she's looking for them. They're missing. Later on in the day, the shoes are discovered just neatly placed on top of the grave of Betty Thomas, or whatever little memorial they'd set up for her. They were just neatly placed on top of there. That happened on April the 7th, which happens to be Betty Thomas's birthday.
Yeah. And so by their logic, they figure Charlie Thomas, was getting his wife a birthday gift.
Yeah.
And nabbed the shoes from their house, which is an interesting idea. But even more strange things happen, and they're not the only people in this subdivision. The whole neighborhood is basically built over this former town and the cemetery. And so there are other neighbors in the neighborhood that also are starting to experience strange activity that may also have bodies on their property.
Yeah, this little cul-de-sac, Poppet's Court, if you look it up on Google Maps, it's marked as Black Hope Cemetery. It's actually marked on Google Maps as Black Hope Cemetery, and it's just a cul-de-sac of houses.
Right.
That's a little disturbing.
Still on Google Maps today, it says Black Hope Cemetery.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It also says Poppet's Court.
Right.
But anyway,
it just shows you the weight of the story, that the story has become so ingrained. Yeah.
But pretty much everyone on this cul-de-sac starts experiencing kind of weird things, seeing weird shadows moving through their homes when the house is empty, hearing voices.
Lights flickering. The one story I really like is the other couple. What were their names?
Yeah,
The Williams?
The Ben and Jean Williams. That story actually gets really sad.
Yeah. But there's a funny part in it where I think it's their granddaughter lives with them. Carly or Carrie or something. I can't remember. But one of the things they were experiencing in their house is that taps were running and toilets were flushing all of their own.
Yeah.
And the granddaughter had said, Grandpa, come listen to this. And when the toilet flushes, she could hear the murmuring of voices.
Yeah, coming up through the pipes.
So we got some toilet ghosts here.
Yeah.
If we can tear that apart for a moment, not tear it apart, but investigate, because we have talked in the show about jinn and ghosts and how flowing water seems to be a medium for spiritual energy. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a connection to the noise, just the gurgling, murmuring. It's like the static.
Yeah.
What's your device called in the ghost hunting?
It's called a spirit box.
Spirit box,
yeah.
Right. And so you get that kind of ambient background noise of static or something like that. And if you think about that, flowing water would create that same effect. Mm-hmm. Where then now you can hear voices. It becomes a medium to which whatever energy embodies a ghost can channel through that.
So
so that's not totally without precedent, right?
By flushing the toilets and making the faucets run on their own, the ghosts attempt to communicate in some way?
Possibly. I'm just saying. There's connecting dots there.
Yeah.
You don't sound convinced.
No, I am.
Or is it just a haunted toilet?
It's just it's hard to take a haunted toilet seriously.
It's fun though.
Yeah,
it's fun. I'm saying there's connections there. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all.
But things get a bit darker than the haunted toilet. All sorts of things start happening. They start seeing strange shadows moving through the house. Hearing whispers.
Yeah.
Being followed around by like a putrid smell.
Yeah.
Encountering pockets of freezing air.
Yeah. All the the stereotypical ghost poltergeist stuff that you experience. Even there was the one story I really liked where the husband, I think it's Ben Williams, he goes downstairs in the middle of the night. He goes to the kitchen to have a late night snack.
No, he had just come home from work because he was working late. And he goes into the kitchen and he opens the refrigerator and he sees these two kind of shadowy figures.
Yeah, shadow figures.
Just standing in the kitchen.
Just black forms. Yeah.
Yeah, it does a whole recreation of this on the Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Yeah.
Where he sees them kind of walking down the hallway towards the bedroom where his wife is sleeping. They actually interview him. He was like an old man when they made this.
Yeah.
And they interview him and he follows them and he sees these figures just looming over his wife while she's sleeping.
Yeah.
And he's like, ain't no way they're messing with my wife.
So he just like dives through them.
He just dives.
I don't know what he thought he was going to happen. He was going to like tackle them or something.
Yeah.
I guess just gut instinct. Yeah, if there was any solid form to him, you'd think maybe he can tackle them. But he just flies right through them.
Yeah.
And he said it chilled him to the bone. It was so cold. He described it as cold and sticky, right?
Yeah.
So he got slimed, just like Ghostbusters. Basically.
Yeah, he got ectoplasm on him, and then he dives right through these two ghosts.
Yeah,
they just dissipate.
Yeah,
and he turns around and they're gone, and his wife wakes up obviously because he's just taking a dive right on the bed next to her. She's like,
so
"What are you doing?"
She's just having a snooze. She's just having a nap, and he just body slams her. Just out of nowhere in the middle of the night.
Ain't no way they're messing with my wife.
I saved you.
But anyway, shortly after this incident, and this is what kind of convinces them that they specifically are being targeted by whatever spirits these are. Shortly after this incident, in quick succession, 6 of their very close relatives are diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's extreme illness, more than bad luck.
Yeah,
right?
3 of them end up dying.
Yeah.
This is just actually the beginning of
their bad luck.
Yeah, this gets way worse for them. But anyway, they are trying to figure out who these spirits are. Oh, I didn't even talk about the sinkholes that was happening on their property.
Yeah, well, that's when it gets dark, right? That's the beginning of how it gets really awful for them. They notice, because they have quite a big yard, right, with lots of trees, and they notice under this big oak tree, and obviously everyone in the neighborhood has heard about the discovery of the bodies with is it the Hanleys?
The Haneys.
Haneys?
Yeah.
Pardon me. So everyone knows about that. So that's kind of in everybody's mind. And they discover on a piece of their property in their back garden under this big oak tree that there's 2 big sunken indentations in the earth that vaguely look like they're shaped like a gravesite, like a coffin.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to do with this. Their initial solution is we'll just fill it in. So they just bring in some dirt and fill in the indentations. Mm-hmm. But the sinkholes just kind of persist.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to fill it in, but the earth keeps sinking down.
Yeah. So
then they notice something odd about this oak tree.
Yeah, they find this weird marking carved on their tree. And it's basically an arrow pointed down. And beneath that is just 2 horizontal lines.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about this story. Everyone in the neighborhood's talking about this story. There was a local resident, like a long-time local resident, but he comes forward and he identifies that specific tree as the place where his 2 sisters are buried.
Yeah.
Beneath that tree.
And he had put the carving in the tree to basically as a improvised grave marker.
Yeah.
And so the Williams are quite upset and they want to sue the developer, but they need proof. They need evidence. So they decide, well, if there's bodies there, if those are actual graves, we got to dig them up.
Yeah, we got to do like the Haneys. We got to start digging.
Yeah.
They're sure they're going to find bodies at this point, and they know exactly where to dig. This was Jean Williams who starts digging.
Yeah.
She notices as she's digging, she starts feeling really sick. The deeper she digs down, the more and more ill she feels.
Yeah.
So she goes on, and her daughter Tina is there with her. Her daughter Tina is about 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she had just turned 30. Her daughter Tina takes over the digging. She's like, "Mom, go in, take a rest. I'll keep doing this." Then the daughter starts feeling really sick.
Yeah.
The
Dizzy.
deeper she digs, she starts feeling dizzy and just not right. She goes inside and she says, "Mom, Dad, I'm not feeling right. I don't feel well. I need to lie down." and she just gets progressively worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, unresponsive.
They call an ambulance.
2 days later, she's dead of a heart attack.
Yeah, she died. She had a massive heart attack and died at the age of 30.
At 30. So what's going on here?
Well, at that point, the Williamses very much just gave up.
Yeah, they just moved, right?
They
decided,
just said, like,
out of here.
We're out of here. They dropped any hopes of suing the developer. They just want out.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on here has claimed their daughter.
Yeah.
So they leave. They move to Montana. The Haneys.
Yeah, they also tried to sue the developer and were successful. A jury awarded them. They were claiming emotional damage and distress for the developer not disclosing that there was a former grave sites on their property and that this caused them emotional stress. And a jury awarded them a settlement, I think, of $142,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. But then another turn of bad luck, a judge decided to overturn that ruling by the jury, and they got nothing. In fact, they got slapped with a big legal bill for the court proceedings.
Yeah, $50,000 or something like that.
Which pushed them into bankruptcy.
Yeah. They lost everything.
Yeah.
In trying to fight this developer.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure why that was
why that got overturned. I was thinking about that a lot.
Because
and I think, obviously the developer's probably going to have a little more power and influence in this situation than the couple and their lawyer. But especially to overturn something after a jury has already made a ruling, I think probably a lot of pressure got put on the judge to overturn this because it was maybe going to set a precedent that would cause problems all over the country. Because surely there's all kinds of these locations where these old towns existed, and there's old cemeteries everywhere that have now been developed over. So maybe it was going to open a can of worms for cases like this.
I don't know about that because, I mean, there's got to be intent there, right? Like if a developer is building this subdivision, I mean, there's always a chance that hundreds of years ago someone buried someone there. There was a gravesite there.
Yeah.
But there has to be like an intent there.
Yeah.
For
there has to be some foreknowledge that they're building on.
Which there was in the case of this Purcell company. You can go and look it up in the actual court records. This field superintendent, his name was Al Summerlin. During the construction, it was pointed out to him, look, there's this fenced off area with little cross markers on it.
Yeah.
That's a grave site, very clearly.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he just went and bulldozed it.
Yeah, they just went ahead and built anyway.
They just went and bulldozed it and built over top of it and just covered it up.
Yeah, no stopping progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why that got overturned by the judge, because there was clearly negligence there.
Yeah.
There was clearly foreknowledge that there was a grave there. There's pictures of this cemetery.
Yeah.
There's like all the local residents knew there was a cemetery there.
Yeah.
It was pointed out to the developer that there was a cemetery there, and they just bulldozed it.
Right. Terrible. Well, what do you make of the ghosts, though? Let's get into that a little bit. Like, what do you make of this story?
Well, you know what detail really... I really wanted to go somewhere with this, but I just couldn't connect enough dots because I got really fixated on the address, Poppet's Court. Do you know what a poppet is?
No.
It's a witchcraft and folklore thing. It's basically the European version of a voodoo doll.
Okay.
It's basically a form of sympathetic magic.
Oh, that's odd. That's
I thought that was a neat coincidence. So I really wanted to explore this angle of witchcraft being involved, but ended up really not going anywhere. I just thought it was a cool coincidence the street is named Poppet's Court.
We don't know, you said records are very spotty, so we don't know much about the residents of Black Hope.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it stands to reason that Haitian voodoo culture was very big in the American South within African American communities.
Yeah.
So there could be something to that. Again, there's no way to verify that, but there could have been that voodoo kind of belief system at play.
There's this whole thing about voodoo, about the earth having power, and you can't disturb the earth, especially where people are buried. Frequently, dirt from grave sites is used in their folk magic. But yeah, I just thought it was an
interesting detail.
Coincidence. Yeah. I couldn't put enough dots together to really make a case of that, but I thought it was interesting that that's the street name.
Okay. Well, what do you think about ghosts in general, or disembodied spirits? What do you think is happening there, or if anything?
Well, on its face, right on its face, you could see these ghosts or spirits or whatever they are upset about their graves being disturbed.
Seems obvious, yeah.
That's on its face. But there's this whole other angle. The Haneys, they find two bodies on their property.
Yeah.
This story starts spreading that this entire community is built atop this giant gravesite. It's said that there was supposedly like 60 people buried at this gravesite. So that story spreads pretty quickly.
So it's in everybody's brains.
Yeah. Is people's mental energy about the trauma the Haneys just experienced by discovering bodies on their property, is all that mental energy manifesting these spirits?
Yeah. Perhaps, yeah. Is it kind of collective hysteria at play? I feel like that's what you're going for. The idea is planted in everybody's mind. So
not a hysteria, like a thought form. Like, I'm not saying the phenomenon they experienced isn't real. I'm talking about like the Philip experiment.
Right.
Like the mental energy is creating these apparitions.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the different theories about what could be happening with spirits, because I've never been able to pin down one thing as like this is what has got to be going on. But obviously there's phenomena that people experience. How are we going to explain it? So have you ever heard of stone tape theory?
Yes, we've talked about it on the show before.
Right. Great. Perfect. Okay. So just to recap for the audience, the stone tape theory is the idea that physical matter objects can retain a record of events that happen to them or near them. Mm-hmm. And this is why you get a haunted house, is because basically the physical matter of the building is retaining some kind of echo, some recording of the events of the lives of the people that lived in the house.
Yes.
And
land remembers.
Yes, and it can replay that. And so it's not a ghost as in a disembodied spirit. It's really just like playing a record over again. Mm-hmm. And it just is repeated. So that's one idea. The other idea I hear a lot is that ghosts are people that were unable to move on. It's the whole ghost whisperer thing, where they're stuck in some kind of purgatory. They don't know they're dead. Mm-hmm. So they're stuck in this limbo, dreamlight state where they still think they're alive.
And they're just going through the motions.
And they're going through the motions.
Lives.
That's right. So that's another theory. The other theory is the jinn, or that it's not actually the spirits of people that have passed, but it's other low-form entities, demons, what have you, whatever you want to label it, that impersonate the ghosts of dead souls. And they take on that persona in order to terrorize and get fear from the living.
Yeah, and belief will make people more susceptible to this.
Yeah, that's right. And then the last theory is basically the poltergeist theory. And poltergeist phenomenon can be very different from just haunting phenomenon. Instead of disembodied forms, apparitions, you get more activity like the clock sparking, like things floating through the air, things moving that shouldn't. It looks more like telekinesis.
Yeah, or like fully formed, full body apparitions appearing. I mean, Ben Williams tackled two of them.
Yeah. But one thing when you look at poltergeist cases, and studies have shown that poltergeist activity often centers around a person. Rather than like a building being haunted, the activity will be centered around a single person, a human being. And that is usually, statistically, an adolescent female. So a young woman going through puberty. And so the idea is that the phenomenon is actually psychokinetic projection. We just did our remote viewing episode where we were talking about perhaps all human beings have a degree of ingrained psychic ability.
Yeah.
And when a young person is going through the difficult time of puberty, that emotional psychic energy gets projected from that person out into the world. And basically, it's just a psychic side effect of puberty. What do you think of that?
What adolescent girl was there in this story? There are no adolescent girls in this story.
That's true. That's true in the case of the first couple.
The Haneys.
Sam and yeah, but the other couple, their granddaughter was living with them.
Yeah, but she was like 6 or 7 years old.
Well, she would have just been approaching.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
because you know what the Williamses, they moved away. They took their granddaughter with them.
Or there's always the just plain and obvious. It is what it looks like. where we do have spirits that are not able to rest for whatever reason. I don't know why they wouldn't have moved on. Maybe it's more like option number 2, the purgatory. They don't realize they're dead. And so they're going through the motions, still kind of in this dream state, thinking they're alive. And there's nothing malicious behind it, but they're just unaware that the world around them has changed. Maybe that's more the
Or maybe there is something malicious there, or vengeful, because there's this whole other subtext to this story. Black Hope, it was a community of former slaves. And slaves during that time, they were seen as what? Basically disposable people. And then the slaves get freed, everyone's happy, right? But then years later, even their graves are seen as disposable.
Right.
This developer sees them and just bulldozes them.
Yeah.
Maybe there are actually spirits there who decided, hey, we don't want to be disposable.
Yeah.
In life, so often, unfortunately, when people decide hey, we are tired of being treated as disposable, it does come to violence before things change,
well,
unfortunately.
There's reasons why we have the death rituals that we have. It's kind of ingrained in human nature and within our psyches that we have to honor the dead. Mm-hmm. We have to give them a proper resting place, and we need to treat that resting place with respect and dignity to allow them to rest. Can anybody explain exactly why those ideas exist, other than this vague hope or sense that we want to believe there is an afterlife? It's somehow tied to the remains of that individual. But where does that idea come from? It just seems like it's an innate thing baked into our psychology.
Yeah. I mean, not even just ours. We talked about this in our
animals do it as well.
Previous episode on animal cognition. We see animals like corvids, crows and magpies. They hold funerary rites. Neanderthals actually buried their dead and then put up crude markers for them. Humans aren't the only ones that do this. I can't say I know why. I can say that if I died and I was buried somewhere out in the country, somewhere nice, somewhere far away from people, somewhere really scenic, and then a century later someone paved over it and built a bunch of cookie cutter homes, I'd be choked. I'd be pissed.
If your spirit still is around in a way that it's going to care, you know what I mean? Well, a lot of the things I hear about when you look at near-death experiences and stuff, when people come back, something they report is the further they get from life, from their body, as they're moving through whatever they're experiencing on the other side of their NDE, is a kind of ego death.
Yeah, the less meaning or weight your life here seems to carry.
Yeah, whatever essence of consciousness that you have that is moving on, it detaches from your identity on this plane. Mm-hmm. It's you're no longer tied and restricted to you, Clayton James. Your consciousness moves on, but it becomes something else, or it reverts to something it's always been. If our souls do reincarnate, say that's a thing, and you have to take on a new identity, and maybe there's a source identity, the higher self that you return to.
Did you ever watch the movie Dr. Sleep?
Yes, I did. Yeah, great.
The sequel to The Shining.
Yeah,
there's this
really
scene.
good.
There's this scene where Danny, who's now an adult, he wants to contact the spirit of Dick Halloran, his old friend.
Yeah,
he wants to have a talk. He wants to get some advice from his old friend Dick. Dick Halloran's ghost appears to him, and they're having this conversation. Halloran at one point says, I can't stay here for very long. It hurts for me to be here. This world is like a dream within a dream to me now.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of makes sense to me, and just a mechanism of how that spiritual machinery would work, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, whatever plane you move on to, you're probably not going to retain, or it probably doesn't serve any purpose to retain and be attached to your former identity. But then what are these ghosts that seem to maintain their old selves and stick around? Why are they sticking around? Is it the purgatory thing where they're just stuck? They just don't know they're dead. They don't know how to move on. And what is the statute of limitations on that? There's a time gap here from the death of these folks being sometime in the 1930s to this development being built in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Or early 80s, where the bodies are being exhumed, right? So obviously human history is bloody. There's battlefields and old towns and people that have died over centuries and centuries and millennia, right? Mm-hmm. So just about anywhere you live, there's got to be a lot of history underneath you, right?
Yeah.
So what's the limit of that? How long can a ghost stick around? How come we don't see ghosts of T-Rexes running around, right?
You know, everyone is going to get over stuff in their own time. It's probably different for every ghost.
Yeah, yeah,
They'll get there eventually.
yeah.
It just takes longer for some than others, maybe.
I remember, and I thought about this with the toilet flushing thing and hearing the voices, because a friend of a friend I met a long time ago claimed that he could see spirits everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He had some ability that other people don't have, and he said that everybody has got at least 5 or 6 spirits that basically hang around them, that follow them around. And that's something you hear in this idea that people don't always realize that they've died. They don't know that they've moved on. And this is particularly difficult for people that don't go through their life pondering death or thinking about their mortality. Say it happens suddenly and they're not prepared. Say they don't have a belief in the afterlife. So they're not emotionally, psychologically prepared for having an existence beyond death. They think they're still alive. They're confused. They don't know what to do. And they'll basically latch on to the nearest person nearby that seems familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And then they follow you and they influence you. And they don't really know why. It's not necessarily malicious, but they just try to gravitate to something familiar. Yeah. Or something that makes sense. And that everybody's got these little groups of spirits that are attached to them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot more dead people than there are alive people. There's what, 8 billion humans on Earth now?
Yeah.
But there's been 60 or 70 billion total humans throughout all of history?
Yeah, generations upon generations, right? So imagine you had a perception of a world just a little bit wider than our own, and that you could see all that. I don't know how that person goes through life, if this is something they're seeing around people all the time. But I really like this story. Apparently, and I guess we were debating whether this is actually a thing before the show, but this story of the Black Hope Cemetery is credited as being inspiration for the movie Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Which I guess there are a lot of crossovers. I rewatched it this week because of that.
You'll have to talk about that because I've actually never seen that movie.
You've never seen it?
Nope.
You should definitely watch it.
Maybe I'll watch it this afternoon.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But there's a lot of crossover details. A family moves into a new subdivision. In that story, the father of the family, he works for the developer. Mm-hmm. And so he's moved into this new neighborhood. And it's the exact same scenario where he wants to build in a pool in his yard. He gets a knock on the door and someone says, "Hey, I feel like I have to tell you something. There's right where you're going to build your pool, there's 2 bodies."
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it unfolds exactly the same. It goes into this other place where it's almost like a demonic monster that their TV is flicking on and off, right? Mm-hmm. And the daughter, there's a young daughter who says, "Oh, there's people in the TV. There's the TV people," and she gets kind of like kidnapped into another dimension by these entities or the devil or whatever it is, and they have to bring in a team of ghost hunters, basically from a local university, paranormal investigators, and eventually a medium to try and rescue their daughter from the spirit plane. Mm-hmm. But an interesting observation. Some people might not understand this if they've not listened to our previous episodes, but a couple details I observed about this movie, now that we look for symbols within entertainment.
Yeah.
And the house, all the houses, but theirs in particular, where this is going on in the movie Poltergeist, it's got 3 peaks, 3 triangular peaks.
Okay.
And the house is like a tan limestone color. Mm-hmm. It kind of looks like pyramids. It kind of looks like the 3 pyramids. And on the biggest face of the house, on the side, 1 single hexagonal window.
Oh, it's the Saturn worshippers again.
Right?
So here's what I
maybe I'm just paranoid, but now I see that shit everywhere because we've talked about it.
Here's what I find interesting about your whole synopsis of that movie, because the way those details line up is crazy to me. And we were arguing a bit back and forth about this prior to hitting record on this, because I was saying, I was mistaken. I don't think these events inspired the movie Poltergeist, because I believe Poltergeist was released in 1982. and I was saying the Haney family started digging their pool in 1983.
Yeah.
So the movie actually came out before these events. So this is an Elisa Lamb-like situation.
Yeah, if that's right. I mean, I thought it was 1980.
Well, it gets a little muddy because most retellings you hear of this story, including the version that was on Unsolved Mysteries, they just say in the early 80s.
Right.
They don't give a specific year. But everything I found, well, actually not everything. One article I read dated this as 1982. Everything else I found said the Heneys moved in 1981. They began digging their pool in 1983, which would have been after the movie Poltergeist was released.
Weird. If somebody knows, if somebody has the exact dates, please drop it in our comments or message us. Let us know. Let us know if we can clarify these dates. I'd be interested to know, because that would be spooky in itself if there was that level of overlap and the dates actually did not line up. That one preceded the other.
Just like Elisa Lamb, the movie Dark Water, which mirrors that whole case so closely.
Yeah.
It was released 10 years before, not 10 years, but like 6 or 7 years before the actual real life case actually happened.
Yeah.
Art predicting life.
I know,
spooky.
we've stumbled across a number of those, which just blows my mind. That's a strange thing. Okay, well, we're getting around to the point where we should start to wrap up. I did want to tease just an idea that I got kind of inspired down this weird rabbit trail because of all this. And I'll try to follow my thoughts. This might sound weird, and I haven't quite figured out what this is yet. But I'm just following my gut here. I was watching Poltergeist because you led me down this road of this story. And all of a sudden I remembered this little personal connection, like a synchronicity, to the movie Poltergeist, because the daughter's name is Carol Ann.
Okay.
I remembered that. I was like, oh, right, because the Misfits. Because when I was younger in high school, I got really into punk music. And one of my favorite albums is American Psycho by the Misfits. And if you don't know the Misfits, they do kind of this spooky Halloween horror kind of style to their punk music.
Yeah.
And so all their songs are about old B sci-fi movies and horror movies and stuff like that. And there's one song I really liked where it's all about Carol Ann. The song is actually titled The Shining, but the song is written about the movie Poltergeist.
That's confusing.
Yeah, it's weird. But it occurred to me, that's exactly what Clayton's been doing. He's been taking inspiration from all our episodes and making songs about them, right? And then I went on this whole rabbit trail about the mascot for the Misfits is this character that the fans affectionately refer to as the Fiend. But he's actually called the Crimson Ghost, and he's from an old sci-fi film serial, not a TV show. Is before the days of network television.
Yeah.
And they used to run movies weekly. They were like weekly episodes that you would see in the movie theater. And it was this...
Like Flash Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. And it was this film series called The Crimson Ghost. And Crimson Ghost is this villain who wears like a skull mask. Mm-hmm. And like a dark hood. And then the Misfits at one point just, I guess, adopted that image and it became closely aligned. It's all on their merch and you see it on their album art and posters and everything. Anyway, so I've been watching Crimson Ghost serials all week.
That sounds like fun.
The past couple days. And it's baking into some kind of idea. I don't know why, but there's something there. There's something there. It sent me down a weird route.
So we're going to do an episode on Crimson Ghost?
Or something.
Well, I know we'll do an episode on something.
It's leading me to a bigger idea. I haven't quite filled it out yet. But I can feel it. You know, my intuition is telling me there's something there. Okay. There's something interesting there.
I thought it
was funny that's exactly what you've been doing all week. You've been writing songs about our episodes. Just had a weird moment, right? Which sent me down this trail. But anyway,
so maybe like Loeb is going to be the next Crimson Ghost.
Something.
It'll be the thing associated with my fake band.
Yeah.
It'll be like on all the merch and everything.
Totally. Yeah. We'll end up doing a whole line of Loeb or Riverman or something merch. I don't know. But anyway, do you have any final thoughts before we say goodnight?
Well, I came prepared with a final thought, but then I ended up saying it like halfway through the episode.
Oh, so you got nothing left.
I don't have a final thought. Other than, yeah, I really enjoyed this story. It's a cool little ghost story. Yeah, I had a lot of fun throughout the week learning about it.
I feel like you're checked out, Clayton. You're already on vacation. We're actually both getting a little show vacation. We're recording this on the day that our previous episode is being released. So we're actually about a month away from our next episode.
Yeah, I actually spent all morning editing last week's episode.
Yeah, we worked ahead and you're going back down to the States. So we got a little break here, which is wonderful. The audience, you won't notice anything because, yeah, we've worked ahead. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're going to have a little fun. Come back with some stories from some adventures down in the States.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have some adventures. But,
okay, great. No, I'm grateful for the time off too. Like I said, work has been grueling. I'm exhausted. So it'll be nice to take some time and maybe think about some other show ideas and put some stuff together in the background. I feel like our website is desperate for an overhaul.
Yeah, that website needs some...
It needs some work. It needs some love. I haven't touched it in forever.
Yeah.
But I looked into some other podcasts this week when I was researching this, and I'd visited a couple websites. I was like, we got to do some work on our website.
Well, you know what? If there's enough interest out there, if y'all want to check out my fake band, check out Riverman.
Yeah.
If there's enough interest there, I was thinking of getting some CDs made.
That's a good idea.
That we could...
we got to do the merch shop thing.
We can maybe hold some giveaways.
Yeah.
Top commenters, we'll send you a CD.
Yeah.
As long as you're within North America.
Yeah. Excluding Quebec. But anyway, yeah, let's leave it there. Maybe that's something to work on in the background while we've got a little break here. But yeah, have a good night. I hope everyone's having a great weekend, and we'll let you go, and we'll see you on the next one. Good night.
Good night.